All right, now we're going to process texts from the bottom up. So getting down in the details, down in the little parts, and spending time down at the word level and the sentence level and figuring out what paragraphs are about. So this is making general categories out of the details from a text. Top down, we talked about that. It's one way to process text. You look out over the top, you try to figure out what's the big idea. Seeing the big picture, looking for general themes and main ideas by beginning our analysis of a text. By looking for the overall structure of the text visually, but bottom up is starting down at the bottom, down in the streets, looking at all the little details. And it occurs at the very specific levels of the text. We begin our analysis by making big general categories out of the smaller details. We're seeing how words make up sentences and how sentences make up paragraphs. So work one paragraph at a time when you are processing text from the bottom up. So we already went over paragraphs. We know that expert writers use paragraphs to group sentences about one idea together. It's called paragraph unity. Paragraphs are a collection of sentences that are all about one idea. So after processing a text from the bottom up, you should have a list of topic sentences with some additional information under each one. But you should basically know what each paragraph's about. So there's 6 steps for doing this. Number 1, try to select a topic sentence for the paragraph. You might not be able to find one, or you might be able to. It's easier if you can find one, but you won't always be able to. Next, you want to delete unnecessary or trivial material. Next, you want to sub a superordinate term for a list of items or components of an action. Try to boil it down even further. Now you should be able to select a topic sentence, and if there isn't one, you should be able to invent one. Number 1, sniff around and try to find a topic sentence. As we know, a topic sentence is a sentence that indicates in a general way what idea the paragraph is going to deal with. Often, authors write a topic sentence that summarizes the whole paragraph. If the author gives one, you can pull it out, say it in your own words, and use that in your summary. So here's a paragraph about yoga. You can pause and read it, figure out, is there a topic sentence? Okay, I did find a topic sentence. It's the first sentence. Number 2, delete unnecessary material. Get rid of any unnecessary details and try to say the information in a different, shorter way. We do this because some text information could be unimportant to the author's overall intention. So here's that same paragraph. I've italicized the topic sentence, the first one. What is some information we can say in a different, shorter way? Another way of saying this is paraphrasing. So just in case you don't know, paraphrasing is saying a short little idea in your own words, but summarizing is saying a whole long text in your own words. So maybe we could go through and kind of paraphrase things. Let's look at this first sentence, the topic sentence. Yoga benefits people who practice it in many ways, but most are interested in yoga's effect on the body. Anything we could get rid of in that sentence? I think we could get rid of the whole first half of it. Just say people are interested in yoga's effect on the body. The second one, when I began yoga 3 years ago, I was a jogger, a swimmer, and a boxer. I very much like an aerobic workout, one that got my heart beating fast, so I was suspicious of the seeming slowness of yoga. What's some stuff we could get out of there that is not that important? Maybe 3 years ago? Um, one that got my heart beating fast? You know, I was suspicious of the seeming slowness of yoga. Yoga seemed too slow. He's saying things plainer. So here I went through and I changed some things. I took out the first half of the topic sentence and see how much shorter it is. The whole paragraph is much shorter. So you might want to go back and forth between these two and look at some of the things I cut out. Number three, sub a superordinate term for a list of items or components. This is a long way of saying find things that are listed and just say what the list is actually a list of, you know. Shin, knee, and thigh are a list of parts of the leg. Professor, custodian, administrator, employees of a college. So right here, I was a jogger, a swimmer, and a boxer. I liked an aerobic workout. What is this a list of? Well, you could say sports or activities, but right here it says I liked an aerobic workout. So we know that these are examples of an aerobic workout. So I could get rid of this whole thing, this whole list. That's what I did. When I began yoga, I liked an aerobic workout. So you're just boiling details down to see what they're really about, trying to come up with the general idea. Try to boil it down even further. Here's an example of me doing that. This is what I had before, and this is what I turned it into. I'm trying to say things in a different, shorter way. I'm basically, paraphrasing sentences because a paraphrase is putting like one sentence in your own words, whereas summarizing is putting a whole text in your own words. And that's what we're doing here is we're summarizing a whole text, and paraphrasing is one way to help us do that. Number five, select a topic sentence. We've already selected one for this one, but by this time, you've spent so much time with the text, you should be able to find a topic sentence. But yeah, and here we go. Here's our topic sentence. But we might not be able to find one, in which case we'd have to invent one. So how do we, a topic sentence is basically the main idea of a paragraph. A main idea is a single statement containing a topic and a comment. So it's about travel is not really a main idea, nor is it a topic sentence. But if you were to say travel is an excellent way to provide an out of school education for kids, that is a topic sentence because it has a topic and a comment. So to keep that in mind when you're trying to come up with a topic sentence, trying to invent one for a paragraph, it's got to have a topic and a comment. Okay, so for the last example about yoga, we already had a topic sentence. So let's go back and look at that to make sure that it did really have a topic and a comment. Here it is. Most people are interested in yoga's effect on the body. So you'll notice it has a topic, which is yoga, and a comment, which is people are interested in its effect on the body. Okay, so let's go back and try to invent a topic sentence where there is not one. And there's three strategies to do that: hypothesize, crunch, and make a list in a rough draft. So let's talk about hypothesizing. Um, Basically, before you read the paragraph, you hypothesize a main idea by skimming it. So you skim through the paragraph and then you think, what's the main idea here? You come up with a hypothesis. Okay, I think she's saying this. And then you read it and then you're like, okay, I was right or I was wrong. I need to come up with another one. So you're making hypotheses and then you're verifying or refining. If you don't know what the text is talking about, this one's kind of tough. So here's an example. I skim it. I see it's about banana trees, shrubs, backyard, flowers, color, peace and tranquility, overcrowded and noisy city. Okay, I think he's talking about his backyard. So the topic might be backyard, and the comment is, I've done some things to my backyard to make it a nice place to hang out. Another way you could do this is to crunch. This guy's crunching right here. This is kind of what you look like when you crunch. So basically, you're reading, you stop, you stare at the wall, and you just don't think. The theory behind this is that as you're reading, you're loading your brain with information. If you just stop and tune out, you open up space in your brain to work on the problem. There's only so much working memory that our brains have. Sometimes we need to load it up and then let our brains process it. And that can be helped by just, staring blankly at the screen or the page. So let's try that. The queen directs and orchestrates the actions, instincts, and characters of all other ants in the colony. She controls how much each ant develops and into what kind of worker, drone, protector, warrior, etc. In addition to the clearly defined social system, ants also have an advanced chemical communication system in which they trade scents and smells with each other through chemicals to communicate. This is why an olfactory interruption in an ant line disorients the ants. Those persons who nonchalantly step on ants miss out on this fascinating microuniverse. Okay, I'm staring at the wall. Ants. Spot ants. Hmm. I can't come up with a comment. I have to read it again. So I read it again. I do the same thing. Eventually I figure out that ants are sophisticated and organized creatures. That's just my way of saying it. Another way to invent a topic sentence is to make a list in a rough draft. So after reading, come up with important words and phrases you found while reading the first time. Make a list of these phrases um, and words. Go Google them or look them up in the dictionary and figure out what they mean. This is something that'll help you if you are not familiar with the text or the information or the theory or the concept. Sometimes this one will help you do it. Here's an example, this is pretty easy one, but sunny, warm, beaches, gorgeous, water, restaurants, hotels, entertainment, Miami. I just made a list. It helped me come up with the topic sentence. Miami is the perfect place for a vacation. Some other helpful hints for figuring out what a paragraph is about. Get your foot in the door. So figure out in the paragraph what are the parts that you do understand and kind of focus on those. Try to figure out those parts. This is also another way to help you if you're in unfamiliar terrain, if you don't really know what they're talking about. The words or phrases that you do understand may not actually be that important, but they will help you get your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, you can start to struggle with the other parts, maybe um, Google some words or phrases and start to figure out what they're talking about. Unfamiliar word, make a choice. You know, this is what happens when you write too. You'll be writing and you'll get to a word and you can't think of the word or you can't think of how to say something and it stops you from continuing to write. That's why free writing is a good idea because it helps you just say, okay, skip this idea, I'll come back to it. So figure out if you need to figure out a word right there on the spot or if you can continue reading. Do you see a lot of ideas that overlap, some repetition? Does a certain word keep popping up? Often just by listing these important words, your brain will automatically start to make connections. So we're back to the list. Listing helps you invent topic sentences. Look at the paragraph before and the paragraph after and say to yourself, trying to figure out how this paragraph fits in. So often looking at the surrounding paragraphs will help you come up with the topic sentence for the paragraph you're working on. Keep trying. It's always okay to put hypotheses on the back burner. Sometimes you might have a one, two, or three, ideas for what a topic sentence could be. Hold on to them all. Wait till you get to the end of the whole text to make a decision. Don't decide that a paragraph is about this main idea and then read the whole thing and go back and make sure because you won't really know until you read the whole thing. Look for words like later, although, since. These are relational terms that help you figure out how ideas relate to each other. Look at the overall structure of the paragraph. Say to yourself something like, I don't know what he's talking about here, but I see he's categorizing things, so I know that categories are important. Or I don't know what he's talking about, but I see that he's comparing and contrasting things. Or I don't know what this author is talking about, but I see that she's explaining a problem. Often paragraphs are related to one another. Some paragraphs just explain another paragraph. Some paragraphs just expand on the information from the paragraph before. Some paragraphs are more necessary than others. Decide which paragraphs should be kept or gotten rid of and which might be joined together. Start collapsing ideas into each other. Because that's what a summary is. If this uncollapsed cup is the full text, then this collapsed version would be the summary. Once you start getting back up into the paragraph level and figuring out what the main ideas are, your bottom up text processing starts to turn into top down text processing. As a result of doing all this main idea finding out and topic sentence discovery, you should have a list of like what all the topic sentences are. Possibly with some additional information underneath each topic sentence where you explain the main idea. These topic sentences can be inserted into a graphic organizer if you wish. So I hope this PowerPoint helped you understand bottom-up text processing, which is starting down with the words and the sentences and figuring out how they add up to main ideas and topic sentences. Help you figure out what all the paragraphs are about in a text.